Hello and welcome to the second lesson in Quick and Easy Holiday Cards. Today I wanted to experiment with some more hands-on techniques involving ink and paint, and a little bit of sanding too. So I'm going to be using my Big Shot to do a little bit of embossing with this Gifts, Ornaments, and Snowflakes set. And I'm going to start out by running this piece of Hero Hues cardstock, it's the grenadine cardstock, through my embossing, or my machine. And you just want to make sure that the raised areas are on the white side, are touching the white side of the paper. And the raised areas will push up into the paper where we can sand it down. And it will leave this really cool distressed look. So I'm just going to flip up my tab 2 on my Sizzix platform, and then you can just sandwich the embossing folder in between the two clear plates and then run it through the machine. You can see we have a really awesome image here, and we'll be sanding this down later, but first I want to do some more embossing while I have my machine out. And so while we're at it, we're also going to emboss using the other embossing folder from the set. I'm just going to take a piece of white cardstock. This is just cut down to a standard size card, and then I'll trim it more later. But I'm just going to lay it into my embossing folder, run it through my machine just how I set up the other one. And then we're going to do a little painting on this one to really make it shine. So here is the embossed, and here's the debossed. And we're going to use the debossed side and make it kind of a gold leaf kind of look. So I'm going to put away my machine, and I'm just going to take my paint dauber, my gold paint dauber, and work some onto my surface, which is really nice. It's nice that you don't even have to like scoop any out or do anything like that. And then I'm going to take this piece of cut and dry foam, and I'm just going to start rubbing over the image. And it's up to you how hard you want to press on this. If you don't press at all, you just ink the surface. But if you want to ink all the crevices, you can do that just by pressing a little harder. So I'm just going to go over this and paint it until it's where I want it to be. So we have this really fun embossed background, and I thought about just going all out and painting over the entire thing in gold, but I really like how the debossed areas don't have as much paint on them. So I think I'm just going to leave it like this because I think it's a really fun look, and it shows that you've really worked on this and made it handmade. So that's really cool. So we're going to go back to our first card now and work on that for a little bit. Alright, so we're back to card number 1, and I have this straight out of my embossing folder, and I'm going to use this sanding block from Tim Holtz to go over it and really bring out those edges. So just go until you have your desired effect. Alright, and you can really see the presents pop, which is really, really cool. So now what I'm going to do next is just trim off the edges so that this is a standard size card front. So I'm going to trim off about a ½ inch off of the top and the side. And now I'm really going to make it pop by inking the edges with some fired brick distress ink. And then I can go ahead and glue this down to my card front. I'm just going to use my ATG for this. And now we're ready for our sentiment on this card. So I'm actually going to make all my sentiments at once, since they're all going to be sort of the same feel to them. And so all of these are from the Very Merry Christmas set from Hero Arts, the CL543. And I'm going to use my Memento black ink and stamp a different sentiment on each one of these 1-inch tall strips. So now that I have my sentiments all ready to go, I'm just going to cut a couple little banners on the ends of these in varying depths. So this one's going to be kind of a narrow one because I stamped it closer to the end, but that's okay. And then this can go on the card right about here. Actually, I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler and my X-Acto knife to kind of trim down this edge because I don't need it to be this thick. So I can trim off about 1/8 of an inch using these lines as a guide. So we have this nice thinner sentiment strip now, and I'm going to ink this with a peeled paint applicator just to give it a little bit of contrast off the red, and especially since this sentiment says expressly Christmas, you know, you can use the regular Christmas colors. And then we can go ahead and stick this down using some more ATG. I would usually use some foam adhesive, but for this one I want to do a little something special to the end, so I'm going to just glue it down with regular adhesive. So I'm going to take these brads and buttons from the Basic Gray, same collection as my pattern paper, and I'm going to see which one I like the best down here on the end. I could do a brad, but I think I want to do a button. So I'm actually going to adhere this button down with some glossy accents first. Just a little dab on either side, and then get it nice and centered. And then I'm going to sew through with this maraschino twine from the Twinery, but I'll set that aside to let the glossy accents set up before I sew through it. So we can get started on the second card then, and we already have the background ready for that. So I'm just going to trim off the edges to cut it down to standard card front size, and for this one I'm going to use my ATG as well. I'm trying to keep all of these cards as flat as possible so that they're easy to mail, because most of my cards will be sent through the mail. And then we're going to do Peace, Love, and Joy here. So I'll cut a little V. And then I usually cut in right down the middle and then use my scissors to cut up to that point. And then I will glue this down, and then I think I might add some gemstones to this, but I'll take care of that towards the end when I'm putting the finishing touches together. So it's time for us to get started on our third card, and for this I have cut down a piece of watercolor cardstock. This is the Simon Says Stamp watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to use the smooth side. And I want to do a little bit of distress ink stamping, and it'll create a really nice watercolor look. So I have my distress ink pads over here, my Forest Moss, peeled paint, barn door, and then fired brick. And for the ornaments, I'm going to make the ornaments green, and I'll just stamp, pick up the color with the peeled paint, and then add some forest moss around the edges, just kind of using the pad as it's slanted. And then I'm going to spray with my pearlized water from about 12 inches away once or twice, and that'll just make it a little bit runny but not too runny. So I sprayed 3 times, and now I'm just going to stamp down on my card. I'm going to go off a little bit here. Perfect. And I'm just going to repeat that with the ornament. Alright, and I've also went back with the flower thing, and did that with the barn door and fired brick, just doing the same thing where I stamped it on the barn door and then went around the outside with the fired brick. And now I'm going to use my fired brick ink pad just to add a little bit of color to the outside of this and to make it nice and festive. So I'm just starting off my paper and working onto it in circular motions. And then I'm even actually going to go around with my Forest Moss ink pad, and I'm just going to do the very, very edges with the Forest Moss. And this will just give it a really good definition, almost like I'm using black on the edges, but the green is a lot more softer and goes with the colors that we used before, so it makes sense. And then we can go ahead and add it to our card front. So I'm just going to use my ATG. And the really nice part about this watercolor paper is because I didn't use very much water at all, the watercolor paper is such high quality that the other side's not even wet at all. So there's no danger of it warping or anything like that. So we have that. I'm going to cut my little V on the end of this Merriest Wishes. And then I'm going to use the Forest Moss again along the edge just to add that definition. Okay, I'm back. I put a couple finishing touches on these cards. First of all, I tied in this cute twine into the button just by using a thread and needle and then threading it through. I added some brads to the side of this sentiment and then added some brads to this side. So really, I think that all of these three come together, and actually they go pretty well together as well. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson of getting inky with your holiday cards. So, as always, remember that you can purchase the ebook with bonus videos, including an extra card for this week on video at my blog, brittaswiderski.com/shop. And you can also see the other lessons for this class ahead of time if you purchase the ebook. So you'll get everything all at once for you to see and learn at your own pace. Otherwise, just enjoy the free lessons, and you'll continue to see 3 cards per lesson for the next 3 lessons. So I hope you enjoyed lesson 2, and stay tuned for next time, lesson 3, when we'll be talking about another topic and making 3 more awesome cards. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.